Hi, I'm Christy, and this is Today We Tried, a parenting podcast brought to you by Colugo, where we talk about big moments in parenthood and break them down to make them feel less daunting and more doable. I'm a mom of three and chief parent officer and general counsel at Colugo, and I'm super excited to be here today with special guest Hitha Palepu. Hitha is the CEO of a pharmaceutical company, the founder of the lifestyle website Hitha on the Go, an author, an angel investor, and a podcaster. That's really unbelievable. That's awesome.
I'm very tired and not doing some of them right now at all.
Well, you have done and may do. And she's also, for me, I found her through her 5 Smart Reads on Instagram every day, which I never miss. And she has an awesome and informative 5 Smart Reads weekly newsletter as well. And she's a mom of 3. That's a thank you so much of 3. You're a mom of 2.
Mom of 2.
So this is a surprise pregnancy announcement also. She's a mom of 2.
Oh my God, COVID has been the best birth control ever.
I know. Well, they talk about this baby boom, that's going to come. And I was like, yeah, that will be all first born. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But how are you doing? Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I am good. I am very amused by my surprise announcement. No. Today has been a good day, and I'm just going to ride with that and hope it stays a good day.
That's good. I will hope for that too. And I'm really excited. We're going to talk today about rewriting rules and boundaries during this time when we're all parenting during a pandemic. And I'm just super excited to hear more about that and how you've been doing that. So how did this kind of come about? Like, when did you realize things needed to change?
Pretty early on. Rose's 5th birthday was March 11th. And that's when in New York, they were encouraging voluntary social distancing and quarantine. And in just one quick walk to the bodega to get some milk, I noticed kind of nobody paying attention to the way they should. And my parents were staying with us at that time as well. They said, we don't feel comfortable here. We are going back to Bucks County. And they said, if you would like to come and join us so we can help you during this time, by all means, please come. And we were like, yes, let's do it. My husband, told his office, he goes, my wife and my father-in-law who work in healthcare have concerns about this virus and that it could get really bad really fast. So we're going to go to Pennsylvania and I will be working remotely. We took Ro out of school a couple of days before they formally closed it down. And so by the time the mandatory quarantine was put in place, we had already left weeks before. So I guess we had a little bit more of a transition time than some others, which I'm grateful for. But also it means that we have been living in lockdown conditions for longer and my patience is much thinner. But it is a global pandemic in the United States and especially in New York. It's been hit incredibly hard and we still don't have the kind of infrastructure in terms of contact tracing and testing and whatnot for us to feel comfortable or for us to ask our caregivers and our help back in New York to safely come back to work. So we will be here until they feel comfortable to do so.
Right. Well, I think that is the key thing is until there's some logic to reopening, there needs to be just an understanding that if you can be at home and can kind of tough it out, even if it is getting trickier, to just hold on.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, I had an awful day yesterday. I barely got any work done. Ro was in a massive mood and I had actually given him a mental health day from school, Zoom school, because I had seen how it was aggravating him. And it was just a really rough day. And on top of it, it was raining. Rocky is teething. My husband was on calls, literally completely booked because he's in consulting and they had just started a new client project, which means he was completely out of pocket. And it was rough. And I had to just go to bed early and wake up. And it has been a better day, but you really got to take it day by day.
That's so true. I've also found that if I do something one day and I'm like, oh, this was a good day, I'm going to try to recreate that. It doesn't necessarily work. It'll be like the same conditions and it will be a different outcome. But I think your advice of just like going to bed early is the key because you never know. The next day, it could just
Mhm.
like switch. But I feel like I have less control than I normally do almost over my mood. It's just like I have to let it ride a little bit more
Mhm.
than I usually
Mhm.
do.
When you are in the midst of a really hard day, the best thing you can do is literally unplug. And it's like get your kid off the iPad, get yourself off your computer and phone and put them in a different room and do something that they want to do and just sort of zone out to it. So with Ro, that's definitely building Magnatiles. And when he's in a mood, I got to make sure Rocky is in another room because Rocky's favorite thing is to destroy them. Or we
Mm,
color, or we curl up and read a book. And it's like that and water. Like usually also kids are either thirsty or just need a bath and need to feel like cleansed in some way. Kind of can cure everything. So we've done a lot of early bath times. We've done a
okay.
lot of multiple baths in the day just because. And that's all good. And a bunch of people in my parents' neighborhood have pools, and I'm like deeply envious that they have pools.
Yeah, that is hard to have so close by. that
I
you can
know.
throw the kid. My daughter just today was like, I'm gonna swim in the pool a lot this summer. And I was like, okay.
It's like, no.
I don't know where that pool will be, but I hope that that could happen. Awesome. Okay, so we're already talking about some things that are working for you right
Yeah.
now. Unplugging, leaning into what your kids want to do. I think it is a really nice, especially when you're in one of those moments where you're butting heads, if you suddenly get to start just saying yes to what they want, that immediately changes the mood. What are some other things that are working as you're kind of feeling out the new rules of this COVID period of parenting?
My friend Neha shared a really powerful like trick where it's her husband's with the kids first thing in the morning until like 8:30. That's her time to herself. And before she like enters the fray, she takes a couple of minutes to just visualize of how she wants the day to go. And I never get around to it that early. And oh, look who's joined me.
Oh, do we have
I never get
Hi.
I never get around to it before because Rose usually crawling into bed with me when I'm like still asleep. And this morning he did, and he was like, Mommy, today is gorgeous. And it was like the cutest way to wake up. I'm not going to lie.
That's awesome.
But I do make it a point that when things are feeling like they're spiraling out of control, I just run to the bathroom and do that visualization exercise of just what would make for the next good hour. Like what could happen in the next hour to make it good. Visualizing one
Visualize it.
good
Yeah.
thing about that hour, but then also when these interruptions happen, I no longer apologize for it. I am just like this is life. Like
Mhm.
this is my life. I have young children. You are going to see them.
Yeah. It's something that I started to see. So I moved from like a corporate law firm
Mhm.
into a parent focused startup. And when I was at law firm, it was like you could never allow the fact that you were a parent to like show in any way. And then it was this huge transition for me. I'm like, chief parent officer now. I'm like leading with the fact that I'm a mom in all these conversations. And I feel like COVID has meant, we're all working from home now. Our kids
Yeah.
are all here and we're all having to like acknowledge that and be good with it. And like the interruptions they're just going to happen. And you just have to like let that all go. And my hope is that coming out of this sort of stigma of like it being unprofessional or whatever can like start to fade away because I'm sure all my colleagues at the law firm now are also being at home and their kids are front and center, and so to not apologize for that and to just let that be like a fact of life
Yeah.
right now, and not to feel bad about that is important too, because we also get our work done. We just get our work done in a
Whenever it
different
gets done.
environment. Yeah, yeah, whatever we can do. Okay, so anything else that is like making things easier right now?
Coffee, wine. I sound like such a cliche, but it's true. It's like it's either coffee time or wine time.
Yeah,
And
no,
that's how I differentiate between the day. being with my parents is truly a gift, because the fact that my mom makes most of our meals, that I have my dad here, that like we sit and we work together. So,
Right.
and we've had a couple of, tricky issues for the company, like right when COVID happened and fundraising kind of went on pause, and now it's kind of back on, but pivoted. And to be able to work through that live or taking walks together and talking through those things has definitely been a huge gift. I don't think we would have been nearly as productive as if I was in New York with both kids crawling all over me and him being like bored at home. Like
Right.
it's been really nice to, as chaotic as it is, have that chaos. I can imagine how lonely it must be if you live solo and are
Yeah,
going through this time.
I know. And kids are great in terms of their living in the moment, and their like excitement over having you home kind of
Mhm.
makes things feel better in that way, because you're like, okay, at least I can have this connection and can focus on keeping them happy, like
Yeah.
helps me to feel happier for sure. Okay, awesome. Those are all super helpful tips. Is there anything you can share that's like not working that you would recommend avoiding?
God, yeah. I would say if you were using iPad as like partly babysitting time,
Yeah.
for us, removing all the streaming apps from the iPad and only having, really good quality games and entertainment was a game changer, because Ro kind of turns into a zombie, just like I'm sure most kids do,
Yeah.
when they can switch between show and show and show and show, and they're not sitting and kind of focusing on one thing. So having like 2 to 3 great game apps and that's it was a huge game changer for us. And now he's learned how to turn on the TV and like go on Apple TV and do it that way. But then he's got to
Yeah.
contend with my mother over the TV. So I'm like, that's not my problem.
Yeah, that's a good barrier. It's just not as easy as
Yeah.
going from app to
So
app. Yeah.
I would say putting some kind of like, I would say formatting your iPad to keep your kids engaged without turning them into zombies is one tip. Trying to maintain as much of like a normal routine. It's so easy to say there is no routine, nothing matters anymore. But we have tried to maintain as normal of a bedtime, wake up time,
Mhm.
although Ro wakes up at the crack of dawn and crawls into bed with me and then proceeds to kick me. And I'm like, go bother your father.
Yeah.
That happens more mornings. But, as much of a routine as you can have.
Yeah.
Certainly give yourself a break on the Zoom school. Like if your kid is not doing it perfectly and if your kid's actually being a terror, then press that mute button, give
Yeah.
them some paper and like a crayon so at least they'll just sit there quietly. And
Does he
don't
have Zoom school like all day?
he
Like,
has multiple sessions a day.
oh wow. Okay. So see,
It's
my kids have a half an hour, and that's still sometimes the trouble.
1 to 2 would be fine, but it's this 3 to 4. And
Mhm.
again, in this distance like learning environment, I wish like they would keep it just focused on what the kids want to do and put the emphasis on stretching their focus time on the things the kids actually want to do. Because getting a kid to pay attention to something they're not that interested in over a computer is basically impossible. So, I mean, I have like let go of the pressure and guilt of getting Ro to engage 100% in school. I ask him to try. I reinforce throughout the session, but I also have shed the guilt of having my computer out and my trying to get work done too, because this is all in the middle of the day and I have to correspond on urgent things and during business hours. Like I'm going to delay things if I can only respond to emails between 8 and 11 every night.
Right. And there has to be some time where there is like a wind down for parents, however that can be. And if you're privileging the kid all day, and that's a lot of school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just impossible because you then have to start very early the next morning all over
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, and again, he's 5. His This is his final year of preschool, so it's a lot for a little kid. And he hasn't gotten to play with anyone his own age or peer for months.
Mhm.
Like Rocky is not even 1. Like he's almost 1, and he's just very cute and wants to do things his brothers can do, but is also just starting to walk and can't communicate and is just saying mama and dad, baba. that kind of thing. So I get why Ro is super frustrated. I get why he has a lot of words, but even I can't physically fully put into words how I'm feeling. So I have let go of a lot of my pre-COVID expectations of myself as both a mother, as a founder and a leader, and as a woman. Like, couldn't tell you the last time I put on makeup. I couldn't tell you the last time I washed my hair. I am basically in workout clothes all day and never work out, very rarely, and that's okay. I have to do a video shoot that with a tripod and a remote later today for a brand, and I am like, where are my largest sunglasses possible so I don't have to put on makeup?
You don't want to waste that makeup during quarantine.
I have forgotten how to put on makeup. It's going to just be a disaster.
There's going to be an adjustment period. Some sort of adjustment. Yeah. But no, that's that's hugely helpful advice to just like let go. Like when you feel that anxiety over something, it's like, is this worth it right now? Or can I just let this go? Because we are all have permission to kind of rewrite our rules for ourselves and for our kids too.
Yeah.
It's like giving us all a break.
Are my kids alive? Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have I drank water today? Okay, I probably should.
The water
That's
thing is
about
a
it.
good tip because it is coffee all day for me right now. So water would be good somewhere.
I have this giant like tumbler from Wawa that I always keep with me. Love Wawa. Love another perk of being home in Pennsylvania. Wawa.
Yeah, you can get Wawa. Awesome. Well, this was all super helpful advice on things to kind of give yourself permission to do and things to avoid. So thank you so much. And we will be right back after a short break and you're going to answer 5 fun questions for us. Hi, Christy here. I wanted to take a minute to talk about Colugo. I'm super excited to share that we've partnered with Cleck, a company known for their super comfy car seats with best-in-class safety features, to launch our complete travel system. You can now buy our complete stroller, infant kit, and the Cleck Ling car seat through our website. I love Cleck car seats, we use them, and I am just so thrilled about this partnership. To check it out, head over to www.hicolugo.com. Now, back to the show. All right, so I am back now with Hitha, and she is going to answer 5 fun questions, which includes a recommendation for all of us, which is what I always go to her for. So I'm excited to hear what she has to say. Okay, so first question is, what's a parenting moment you're proud of?
Ooh. I think like when Ro has a really good Zoom school session day, that's when I feel like I'm on top of the parenting mountain. Or when he doesn't wake up in the middle of the night and I get a full night's sleep. That's another really great feeling.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's a new fun thing that one of your kids is doing right now?
Rocky is like almost walking, which is really adorable and such a big deal. Ro, everything that comes out of that kid's mouth is hilarious. But I would say his like new obsession with reading, thank you to the Dragon Masters book series for getting him into reading. All he wants to do is like snuggle up on the couch and read with me. So I will take it.
That's awesome. What is a favorite family tradition?
Happy hour every night. It's usually just me and my dad, by the way. Like my husband is like still on calls. My mom is usually saying her prayers or getting dinner ready or on the phone with somebody. So it's usually just dad and I sitting at the dining room table drinking.
That sounds great. My dad and I were getting drinks once a week on Mondays until all of this happened. So we're thinking we're going to try to recreate it over Zoom. But yeah, that's a great family tradition. Love that. What do you drink wine or what's your go-to?
Usually wine, usually red wine. Right now, a light red wine. So a lot of Pinot Noirs or Italian reds.
Awesome. What is your favorite piece of parenting advice?
Don't listen to parenting advice. No, I think like the one that I go back to is parent the child you have, not the child you want. I think when you are about to be a first-time parent, there are a lot of expectations you have of yourself and of your future child. and your kid is going to tell you exactly who they are and what they need. And it's your job as a parent to listen, to respond to those needs, given when it's appropriate, set boundaries when needed.
Last question. Do you have a recommendation for our listeners? Can be anything. What should they do?
I'm really into Masterclass right now.
Oh,
So
cool. Which
nerdy.
one are you doing?
I am doing Doris Kearns Goodwin's Masterclass right now on U.S. presidential history and leadership. I have found so many of the things she's talked about, especially around humility, to be so helpful, because humility is really a cornerstone to leadership. I also love Diane von Furstenberg because she's just fabulous. Sarah Blakely's has been really helpful. And I want to do watch some of the cooking ones or the fun ones. So I haven't done any of those yet.
That's so fun. Okay, cool. I'll have to try that. Okay, well, that's it. That's all we have. Thank you so much for being here. Before we go, can you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Hitha Palepu. HITHAPALEPU. And from there, I link to my podcast when that comes back, my newsletter, and all the other things I'm doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. If you want to comment on today's episode, you can head over to Colugo's Instagram, which is at HiColugo, HICOLUGO. And if you have a question or a topic you'd like us to cover, you can email me. I'm at cpo@hicolugo.com. Thanks so much, Hitha.
Thank you.
Our music was provided by Sound Planet. Our awesome producer is Aaron McGregor. I'm Christy from Colugo. We'll be back soon to share more about our adventures in parenting. Until then, remember, you got this.